The owners of the tennis tournament said, we're getting into pickleball and we want you to do a 30-minute highlight show. I said, that's great. What's pickleball? And I went up there and there had 250 people playing pickleball. Steve Kennedy, Rob Cassidy was just getting started. I met Melissa McCurley and I said, where have I been? I've been under a rock or something?
Hello, welcome to the Future of Pickleball. This is the show on the Selkirk TV channel where we talk to the people that are making this sport go. Got a wonderful guest today. I want to introduce you all to Carl Foster. Carl, welcome to the show.
My pleasure, Paul. Looking forward to being with you.
You know, I'll tell you, folks, Carl's got a pretty big history in pickleball. He is the CEO of the World Pickleball Conference. He's the owner of the NPL Boca Picklers Pro Senior Team, and he's also the chairman of the Veterans Pickleball Association. You've been a busy guy, Carl. Tell us a little bit about how you got so deep in the sport.
Well, probably right out of COVID, like a lot of people. A tennis background. I'm still involved in tennis somewhat with the ATP tennis tournament in Delray Beach. But I found pickleball by actually launching a show called Inside Florida Pickleball, following up on my Inside Florida tennis shows and Inside Florida Golf. So I was called to do a TV show for the World Pickleball Championships up in Port St. Lucie. And I had never heard of pickleball before, but the owners of the tennis tournament said, we're getting into pickleball and we want you to do a 30-minute highlight show. I said, that's great. What's pickleball? So I went to the fast mode and researched and I went up there and there had 250 people playing pickleball. Steve Kennedy, Rob Cassidy was just getting started. I met Melissa McCurley and I said, where have I been? I've been under a rock or something? Where are all these people coming from? They're playing this sport. So I gravitated to it just like everybody else. And when I interviewed Melissa and Steve Kennedy and so many people, I said, you guys have any TV shows or any media going on with pickleball? I said, we need it. We need the help. We need to get the word out about pickleball. It's just starting to take off. So the rest is history. So I'm still doing my TV show, but now it's Inside World Pickleball instead of Inside Florida. So I left Florida behind and I'm working on the world globe now, the global aspect of pickleball.
Cool. And actually, media is something I want to get to later in the show with you because of your background in media. But the first thing I really want to kind of cover, and really the reason I thought it was important to get you on the show, was to talk about the World Pickleball Expo that'll be in Palm Beach, Florida, I think 27th to the 29th of June. Am I right on that?
That's absolutely right. And you're going to be one of the keynote speakers, so I hope you get the dates right.
So tell us a little bit about what your approach to these kind of conferences and expos is.
Well, the thing was, we started about 4 years ago, actually. We did our first expo in Palm Beach at the convention center with a partner of mine, George Damichetti, who I've known for about 25 years. We did the first internet expo way back in the day when the internet was the Wild West, much like pickleball is still right now. So we decided to do that. And that was the first taste it was a beta test, see if it was going to work. So we had some courts and we had about 100 exhibitors at Palm Beach Convention Center, and it went well. So we decided, okay, let's focus on this a little bit. So we went to Vegas last year. You were there, obviously, and we decided to add a World Pickleball Conference. My background in conferences, I did the World Leaders Conference for several years, probably about 10 years ago in Palm Beach, where we had Tony Robbins, Drew Brees, we had five-star generals. It was all dealing with servant leadership. It was a 2-day conference. I said, I think pickleball's ready. There's enough business leaders, enough business that's growing. I said, I want to try the World Pickleball Conference. So we added that to our Vegas Expo. We had a great response. So we had a sold-out crowd. We had 50-plus people from all over the world and some great names. And I thought it went well. People were doing business. That's what it was all about. It's all about the business-to-business aspect of pickleball. I wanted to focus on that aspect of it. And So now we're coming up. We're doing our second World Pickleball Conference with a convention, which is bigger and better than ever. We're already sold out of the convention, over 140 exhibitors. We've got over 40 plus speakers right now. I'm still waiting for a few more key people that have said, give me some time to adjust my schedule. I'm planning on being there. So I'll have my agenda ready later this week. I've got this year, I'm doing a little bit different. I've got 6 keynote speakers instead of just all panel sessions. Last year, we only had 1 keynote and 2 keynotes actually last year. And then so this year, I've added some keynotes like yourself to really be able to spend more time. And what I found was we had too many speakers last year. Everybody's got a lot to say, and there's a lot of information to put out there. So I want to give everybody enough time to speak at the conference, and also really some meat and potatoes on some of the key topics that, Carl Schmitz is going to do a keynote. You're going to do a keynote. Brandon Mackey with Pickleheads, a nice young up and coming company. Duper, Tito Machado is going to be doing a keynote. We got Ray Colavacchio, who's with CBS Sports and has done the U.S. Open since day one, really talking about the media and the pickleball aspect of TV on the networks and the future of the sport on the major networks. So we're going to touch a lot of bases at the conference, the international aspect of it. We've got some key people coming in. We're still waiting for confirmation of the IOC, a representative. If not, they're going to at least send a video or possibly a statement on, the goal is to try to provide a platform at the World Pickleball Conference for the leaders. We're Switzerland. We play Switzerland, so we don't go one side or the other with APP, PPA, World Pickleball Federation, Global Pickleball Federation. We've got alphabet soup out there, as we know. So there's a lot of it, but we're trying to bring the industry together because I think that's the only way, and we've talked about this, it's going to succeed in taking the sport to the next level, which is my passion with the conference and the Expo and the TV show. So I'm trying to use those elements and that platform to try to take us to the next level.
Very nice. One of the things that you and I have both been at a lot of the different events that are going on around the country on the order of this. What would be the 3 or 4 primary benefits that you think someone who was interested in being in the business of pickleball, how would they benefit from your event?
Well, I think what we found out last year was people had a chance to actually meet the people that we're doing business with, and also new people from across the globe were actually able to see some of the new technologies, meet some of the new franchise developers. We saw people writing deals, whether it's pickleball insurance deals, software deals, investing in other companies, and building strategic partnerships. So if you're thinking about getting into pickleball business, which many people are jumping in from all different angles, as we know, we've got 80% new exhibitors. Somebody's coming out I've never even heard of before. And they're jumping into the pickleball space with all kinds of different unique items, and they're trying to find their slot. So this is the place to be to really get a chance to meet your future partners or see if your product's going to work, if you're going to beta test it. So I think that's the most, nothing like one-on-one. I mean, we can do online conferences. We can go to tournaments and sometime, but you don't really have the time. We're going to be in a room for a couple days and really get to know everybody in that room. And we have cocktail parties, we have breakouts, some sessions, so people can really spend some time, to say, hey, let's set up an appointment. I'll meet you here over the next 3 days and do some business. That's what we hope happens.
Cool. One of the things that I think really is sort of interesting, the event that you do, Pickleball Minds has done event, Racket X has done events, PickleCon has done events. David Johnson is now beginning to do the business of pickleball. What would be the case you would make for what separates your event or similarities? Is it a timing location issue? What do you think people should watch for what you're doing most?
Well, that's a great point. And I've spoken at all these other events and attended all these other events. And I applaud that because they're all in different parts of the country. So, we were in Vegas last year. We're in Palm Beach this year. Next year, we've already signed a deal for San Diego. So we're going to go back out West Coast next year. We may do more than one or 2 events, but right now it's a handful. We want to do them right. But Pickleball Minds, I think is interesting. What AJ's doing with the international aspect. I think he's focused more on the international world, which is great. We touch on that too, and I think everybody's looking for a niche. PickleCon went to their first event. I think PickleCon is closer to what we're doing with a tournament, an Expo, conference, and now we've also added, which we'll unleash here for the first time, the 2025 Golden Pickle Business Awards, where we're going to honor the top 11 we call them picklepreneurs, but the top 11 people that we feel that have the passion for the sport and are doing the most to grow the sport. Not how much money you're making or who's most successful. That's important, obviously, to the bottom line. But we want people that really have the passion in their heart and love the sport. That are really, we see so many great people like yourself just doing things to help grow the sport without necessarily a bottom line return to it. So we're going to add that this year for our first thing. So I think with the tournaments we've added now, we're doing a junior event, we're doing a military charity event, pro celebrity event with demo courts. So I think we have more of a total package than some of the others that are getting into it in the space. We don't see them as competitors. We don't really go up against each other. David Johnson is one of our keynote speakers with his IAPF, and he's really focusing on the facilities aspect. We have facilities. We'll have Dill Dinkers here. We'll have Pickle Rage here, Pickleball Kingdom. So we touch on all the aspects, but people are looking for their niches, what I think is great, because you can even break out, we're sort of the bigger picture, and we're trying to break out things. We have Baptist Health now involved in a big way as a presenting sponsor. They've been with me for a few years, and they're really big into the pickleball space and the recovery and the orthopedic surgery aspect of it, because we know people get hurt. They're getting out there playing pickleball. So they've seen a big value in being involved in the sport of pickleball. So we're seeing a lot of companies that not necessarily pickleball companies that are saying, we need to be involved with this sport.
And I'll tell you, for all of the different events that I get to, like you do as well, I love the fact that these kind of events seem to be the place that people get the opportunity to really get hands-on conversations. It's kind of difficult in Zoom calls and podcasts to really get specifics. I love the fact that so often we're getting senior decision makers, people that come to these events because they really want to meet the other people that are steering the sport and guiding it. On that note, I want to ask, if you're watching this, please take the opportunity, hit the like button, subscribe to this show, and you'll get an opportunity to see people like Carl Foster that are really making a difference in the sport. I've got a couple of things that I want to cover with you that are kind of important issues to me, and I think they're probably important issues to you and anybody else steering the sport. What are you seeing or sensing about how important the global scene is, and possibly even global governance of the sport?
Well, that's a key thing. We're hoping to get some people in the same room and try to get people talking to each other, both sides of the aisle, so to speak, because there are people out there competing for similar space. We talked about it. People are claiming I've got the road to the Olympics. I know this has to be done to get to the Olympics. So I'm getting different conversations from different people. So I said, I could open platform. I'm not. You come to the event. You've got a platform, because we want to have questions and answers, which we have. So we want people to ask and really delve into these, and that's one key issue. I mean, the paddle technology is another key issue of what's going on with Carl Schmitz will be there. We got some new people coming in from Adidas and Wilson jumping into the pickleball space. We've had, regulars come to us also from other paddle manufacturers. But I think that's one of the buzz, the hot topics. How do we level the playing field in pickleball, from the pros to the amateurs? Most of the amateurs, they don't get caught up in a lot of the things that we do on the business side. They just want to go play pickleball.
Right.
They say, okay, they don't get caught up in, well, is this paddle? I play with people. They didn't know the paddle was not even legal. I said, you're playing with an illegal paddle. What do you mean illegal paddle? I bought it for $300. Well, I said, you can play with it, here, but most people aren't going to be real happy with you, about playing with that paddle. So I think, but you hit on a key there where the trying to get the people in the same room on some of the topics. I think the franchise groups, they all have different models. They compete all over for different space. They're looking for some are profitable already, some are not profitable. Some people are going out of business. Some people are jumping right in real fast, and we've had some not bad eggs, but I'm saying we had some people that just haven't done things right, and they find out it's just not. You don't just turn a key and say pickleball, and you'd be an instant millionaire.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've been fortunate to have 4 of the major CEOs from the different franchise organizations on here, and I love talking to them because they all have different ideas and different strategies that they think can go Now that we're really in sort of halfway through year 2 of the franchise explosion, it's going to be kind of interesting to see if there is a specific winner or loser, or what is the formula. Will you spend much time talking about that kind of stuff at the conference?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll have some of the key topics is going to be exactly that. How do we have investment groups coming in this year. We have more people that are looking to invest into pickleball. We know there are people coming in that need to raise capital. Like certain companies are looking for capital right now to expand their products. So we've been able to reach out to some venture capital companies and companies that are focusing and buying up companies or merging other companies. We're seeing a lot of that going on right now with groups like 35 Capital, some groups here in Florida. They're investing in different things, Diadem, with the Fort and some of the other things. A lot of partnerships are being developed, and a lot of companies are saying that, we could use an influx of capital if we're going to be able to compete. The paddle companies, we work with some of the smaller paddle companies that are trying to raise capital to be able to, to battle the big guys, the Selkirks and Paddle Techs. Paddle Tech just, merged with 35 Capital, and certain groups getting together because the paddles are paddles, right? But the thing is, it's the marketing is going to get them into the hands of either the pros playing with them or getting them out to the marketplace. You have the best paddle in the world, but if you can't spend any money on marketing, nobody but your local family is going to know about it. And that's some of those things. We're going to talk a lot about advertising and marketing. Some of the we got a marketing sessions could be very good just to talk about how people are marketing their products, whether it's a franchise, indoor facility. We got 3 of them coming up here in our area, which is amazing too. A Boca Paddle Club is being built. Patch Reef Park's putting 18 covered courts in where I do my tournament. So it's great for the sport. Everybody always asks me, says, how are these companies going to survive? I said, who's going to? He said, we play in Florida. I don't want to pay 30, 40, $100 a month to go play pickleball when it's beautiful weather. Now, when it's raining, it's a different story. But when it gets 105 degrees in the heat, you may want to play indoors a little bit. But we're going to tackle a lot of those areas and hopefully get some good dialogue. And one thing we found in Vegas, we had a lot of Q&A. I'm going to try to allow the speakers to have a little bit more time for Q&A, because that's what it's all about. I mean, I want people to be able to ask questions, and some people stir the pot a little bit, and they get tons of people that want to ask questions within 5 minutes of their talk. But we'll monitor that, and it's but yeah, I really want to make sure that we come across with information, also some entertainment, but also at the end of the day, people walk away and said, that was the best conference I went to. I made so many contacts, or now whether it's future sponsors, relationships there, whether it's future investors, that's what I want to focus on. I mean, the Expo will have its, the spectators and the players, the tournaments going on, and the people buying and shopping and so forth. But upstairs in the ballroom, that's where we hope to have business to business and make some deals up there.
I want to take a quick moment to tell you about something new in pickleball. We have all been ghosted in the pickleball group chat. Now here's a way to fix that. Get the Play More Pickleball app. We're trying to get some pickleball in, so you send out a message to the group. A few people like the message, but what does that mean? Will they actually show up? And what kind of players are they? Will you have enough people for doubles? Play More is the new pickleball app that does the frustrating part for you. It will send smart invitations to play. You can easily see who's RSVP'd, and then you can use the AI matchmaking tool to balance your games. That means no more 5-0 versus 3-0 matchups. The best part, it's free. Find it in the App Store or use the web version at getplaymore.com. Playmore is the most stress-free scheduling app in pickleball. Now let's get back to the show. Something that I've been looking forward to getting you on the show to talk about is you've got a history with CBS Sports Network. You've got a lot of actual media background. The discussion that comes up in pickleball very often is it a spectator sport, or is it a participation sport, or can it be both? What are your thoughts about where we're at on the viewership and spectators following pickleball?
That's a key question that Ray's going to be working with, and I'll be involved with him on that session, because my whole background is media. So I've done radio, TV shows, and that for a long time, and I still cover tennis. And I see a big disconnect between the spectators and people who want to play pickleball and the people who want to watch pickleball. And I see it just in my own backyard. Just guys I play with all the time and come in there, and most of them, they'll watch a little bit. Oh, did you watch that match or see that match? I think a couple things have to be done, and I've talked to Ray about this with CBS Sports. We do a magazine show, so we cover the highlights. It's not a highlight show, but more of a magazine format. So we just talk about the ins and the outs, and I didn't want to do a highlight show. The game is too fast for TV. The points are too fast for TV. There's no time for the announcers to talk. I've done play-by-play a long time, and there's no time for replays. You try to do a replay, you miss the next point. The points. So tennis has 30 seconds in between points. They towel off. Announcers talk about it, they show a replay, and they keep going. So something, to get the spectators more interested. You can have great players, but they're still not the household names even 5 years later in pickleball. I mean, you got Annalie Waters, you have Ben Johns, you got the young comers coming up. But I think Agassi made a big dent at the U.S. Open because he's a household name in tennis. When somebody from tennis comes in and people recognize them from another sport, Drew Brees comes in, or Yvonne Lendl played in our tournament. He had more people watching his tournament playing in a 60-plus first-round event than were watching our finals, because it's a name recognition, and it's whether it's a former celebrity or a Jack Sock coming in, somebody like that, that's going to help the TV momentum and the eyeballs. I think it helped at the U.S. Open. I mean, people came out for Agassi. It was unbelievable. They were hoping that he would have played more matches, but he performed well. And you see the pickleball slams and some of the exhibitions with the top names, and they're drawing big numbers. And one of our panelists, Ben Shapiro from the Celebrity Pickleball Smash, he did one in San Francisco with all celebrities and pickleball pros. And he's getting ready to do another one. I think it's going to either be a PickleCon or it's going to be in Dallas, his next event. So he's going the celebrity route. I think for the TV, and Ray struggles with that all the time with CBS Sports. We've had our show on CBS Sports, a lot of play-by-play events on CBS Sports. APP's doing CBS, ESPN. Pickleball, channel came in via Tennis Channel, and that's helped the sport a lot. I think as far as the growth of the sport, but they're not getting big numbers. They're just not getting big numbers. Like that's what advertisers want to look at, bottom line numbers, and to get these big names. Now PPA's done a better job on the TV side, getting some more better numbers and bigger sponsors than APP has, on the pro level. I don't see a lot of, U.S. Open is a rarity, but as far as local tournaments, like even my Boca Masters, I do live streaming. I had it on CBS Sports the first year, but it's we got a lot of work to do on that end of it. I just think that's one of the big issues right now, and I think it has to do with the coverage. I think the coverage is getting better with the kitchen cams. Maybe put some smaller cameras on the net. They got to come up with more exciting way, because the points are just too fast for people to even digest the sport. And I don't know whether you can slow it down any, but there's got to be some built-in timeouts, and there's got to be some ways for the announcers to talk about the players, even to be able to talk about the backgrounds of the players during a pickleball broadcast. You can't hardly get a couple words in about anything but the points, because they're going so fast. That's one
of the things that you're mentioning there, I've heard it talked about quite a bit, is the fact that we have not yet in our sport done enough personality development of the players. Those of us that live in the inner swirl, we hear these amazingly interesting stories about both young players, but also some of the not so young players. You get a player that was a professional athlete in another sport for 10 years. They come into this sport. They've really got some life history behind them. Do you think that the development of personalities in pickleball is something that has to be expanded or developed, or is that not that important?
No, I think it's very important. I think you hit on it. Danny Warfel plays in our MPL league, for instance, and he immediately brought a buzz because, playing against Danny Warfel or playing with Danny Warfel. Sure. Danny Warfel's just there, and he's a recognizable sports figure, a Heisman Trophy winner, an NFL football player from another sport, like you said, Yvonne Lendl. Comes in, Jack Sock, Andre Agassi, and there's more and more of those types of people. There's a lot of NFL players playing now, not taking it as serious as some of these other guys, but maybe it might be their second careers coming in. But they already have a history and a personality. We have to develop the personalities with the pickleball players. They're doing a pretty good job. Annalie Waters obviously is the key, because she's probably the most recognizable. Ben Johns. I mean, but a lot of people don't know the background. Ben Johns just moved down the street here in Boca. He bought a place here in Boca, not far from us, to be able to train with all the top players that are in our area, which we have a pretty hotbed. Annalise here, Gabe Tardio's here, the Johnson family's here, Ignatowicz, Alshon. I mean, Florida's become a pretty big hotbed of players, and they can all practice with each other. That's how Hurricane Tyra Black started practicing with Paris Todd and the Johnsons, and they've elevated their games to another level because they have that competition. If you're out in Utah, you're in the middle of the country, and you might have one or two pros in your area, it's going to be hard for them to find games to even practice with somebody to compete. But the personalities, I think, like Paris Todd, some of these people have great stories off the court that we have to get out there. And I don't think we do it enough. We try to do it with our show, but that's just one show. On the broadcast, there's got to be more features in the broadcast about these players and what they are, who they are as human beings. They might be doing fundraisers or tied in with a charity, or they all have a great pickleball story. That's one thing. I have a segment. What's your story about pickleball? Why do you love pickleball? Where'd you come from? One guy was a scratch golfer. I gave away my golf clubs. I'm playing pickleball now. Those are just great stories of how people got into this sport.
One of the things I've got in my notes here, a question that I've looked forward to asking you, is I hear a lot of conversation and a lot of discussion about the speed of the game. Paddles have factored into that. But one of the things that I've wondered about is I don't see a lot of the broadcasters covering what the sophistication of the game is. People see dinking and they think, oh, well, these people are just bumping that ball back and forth. And it isn't until you've attended an event where you see courtside how tiny those margins of error is and why they're strategically doing that. Do you think that I'm onto something there? Is that a legitimate observation, or is that just something that the consumer, the average viewer, wouldn't care about?
No, I think they care about it, but we go back to the problem. There's not enough time to talk about those things.
I see.
Talking about, if you see dinking going on, you might see 50 dinks or something, and say, well, I'm a banger. I'm banking 2 or 3 times, and that's it. I said, why are they dinking so long? But to be able to talk about the strategy, I think, some of the announcers, I mean, some of them like Dave Fleming, some of the pickleball pros that play the game. Now you get some other announcers that are broadcasters come in just to do the event. They don't even know the nuances of the game, and some of them don't even play. I think that's something that, when the networks, they want their own talent, but then the talent comes in. I remember we brought in, we'll mention names, a person from the CBS to work the broadcast with us, and didn't even know the nuances of the game, but they wanted him to be the face of the broadcast, which is cool. But then, so we had to bring analysts in, and we had Melissa McCurley and myself and some other people, that know the game. Because if you don't play the game and you don't follow the nuances of the game, why are they dinking so much? Why are they speeding up here? What's the strategy of a lob? What's the strategy? Why do they? But these pros are, when you work with these pros like a Merchant Murario, the guy's a technician. He studies video. I mean, he can tell you in a minute when people are warming up. Okay, you go to that. Dink to the backhand all day long. That's their weakness. Find a weakness in the player and just stay on it and follow the game plan. That's his whole thing. Follow the plan. Don't deviate and start doing your own thing. And, the plan is focus on that weakness. Find out what the weakness is of the other player and just focus on it and drill on it, because that's how you're going to win your points, which is great. I mean, I learn stuff every day from these pros. They're just amazing. I mean, it's their livelihood. I mean, I just play for fun. But these guys are making a living, and they study it, and they put the time in. They drill like crazy. Now, how many rec players that even go out and drill? They probably never. Most of the guys I play don't even drill. Never drilled in their life. They just go out and play.
It is and on this show where I talk to people about the sport from the business side of things, but really also the future of the game of pickleball and where it's going. Give me your sense of what you think we're going to see in the sport of pickleball that's going to be of interest in the next 2, 3, 4 years.
Well, I think the big thing is, you touched on earlier, is the international side. We're seeing people come in from India and China and these other countries, Australia, playing in our leagues and saying, Guangdong, guys from Vietnam, guys are coming in saying, hey, we see an opportunity here. And they're practicing, they're drilling. I think the international side, I think it's going to grow. These tournaments overseas are going to start offering some big prize monies, and they're going to get some of the Americans to say, hey, I'm going to go over to, play in Australia or play in India in a tournament. That I think that's the biggest growth that's coming up. And we're talking about once it hits the Olympics, I think that's going to change. That's going to be a game changer, obviously. But there's a lot of work got to be done with these other countries, because most of the countries we talk about, I go down to Colombia. My wife's Colombian, and I can't find a pickleball court. They get a couple courts taped, and they got a Colombian association. But they said, yeah, we're getting there, but the big resorts, none of them even have pickleball. I said, so I'd say that some of these countries are 2-3 years behind. Others are moving at a rapid pace, like India and China. And I think it's just like some of the bigger companies are jumping in now. How long did it take, Nike to start realizing, I think we should start getting into pickleball, or even Adidas now, Wilson. All these tennis companies I dealt with for years in tennis, they said, why aren't you guys in pickleball? We're testing. We're seeing where it's going, and they're either going to come in and buy up what they want to buy up, or they're going to come in and start. Once they get in, they're going to be all in, and you're seeing it. They're coming in big ways at the expos. They're marketing. They're coming out with paddles, shoes, clothes. So I think the early myth it's a fad or it's just going to die off like racquetball or another sport. I think overall, the sport is it's going to compete with paddle. Paddle's another big competition out there that's growing internationally, as you know, much more than pickleball. So is pickleball going to compete on the paddle stage over there, and is paddle going to come in and start taking away some of the market share of pickleball here in our area? So I think future it's going to be interesting. I think more tennis players are going to be getting into pickleball faster. I think more celebrities or more names. And I think bigger companies are going to start getting in, maybe investing and maybe growing the sport where it's it's a staple on TV, and maybe get our own meme one day. With they're still trying to get a meme for pickleball, with the on Apple. But I think there's still a Wild West. But I think we're seeing a lot of things shake out. I think we're seeing a lot of companies probably shaking out on figuring out, if I'm going to be in this business, it's going to take a lot more money than I need. I may need to partner with somebody, and we're seeing some partnerships being developed now, and some conglomerates built up where the companies are buying 4 or 5 companies. So I think that's where the future is going to be, and I'm just along for the ride, man. I just keep enjoying it here. Before I was semi-retired on the golf course. Now I'm back doing more than I was doing before.
Yeah, very nice. I'll tell you, if you're watching this, if you've got a comment on either a person that you know of in the sport that I should be speaking with, if you've got an idea that needs to be explored, please reach out to me through the comments section. With that, I want to say, Carl, thank you so much for being on the show today. This was great. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the end of June in Palm Beach, and I'll see you on the pickleball court, man.
Sounds like a great time. We'll be playing indoors. It'll be nice and cool. So we'll see you in June, the 27th and 29th in Palm Beach, beautiful Florida. So we'll see you there.
Thanks,
Paul.
Carl.
Appreciate it.